How much money do you need to have in order to be able to afford to not care about other people?
Haleyy Baylee is under fire yet again.
This isn't a trend to jump on because you see it's getting other people views. I wouldn't even say this is a trend to jump on at all.
Haleyy Baylee again for allegedly lying.
Bizarre to me, and honestly, it's such a slap in the face to make something like this up.
Hello, my name is Liz, and welcome to my corner of the internet where I overshare about what I've been thinking about. Basically, whatever I've been hyperfixating on and talking to all my friends about. And today, that is none other than TikToker, influencer, former Sports Illustrated swimsuit modeler, and all-around internet diva, Haleyy Baylee. When I first mentioned to one of my coworkers, I said, "Have you heard about Haleyy Baylee?" She said, "Are you talking about Haleyy Baylee, the star of The Little Mermaid?" I said, "Oh, no, we're talking about another redhead." Now, my coworker assured me that Haleyy Baylee is not actually a redhead, that her hair is dyed, which gives me small comfort in this world because as a redhead, I just am offended that this girl has millions of followers, and this is what people think of when they think of a redhead. So that's the number one reason I need to talk about her, is I need to give redheads some justice. Okay, let's get started. So Haleyy Baylee has come to my attention twice in the last bit of the summer, and for both out of touch, weird reasons. And I would say the reason she keeps getting canceled, at least on her TikTok, she seems to have no concept of empathy. The first cancellation. Haleyy Baylee was invited to the Met Gala. The Met Gala is an annual fundraiser for the costuming and fashion history department at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. The Met Gala is famous for being very exclusive. Anna Wintour personally picks the guests. There have been some interesting guest choices of people that you might not think of as celebrities who get to go to the Met Gala, including people like James Charles. I never wanted to see him at the Met Gala, and yet we were graced with his presence. And Haleyy Baylee was one of the many TikTok influencers that was invited this past year, and honestly, I had seen her on my For You page, but I've never followed her. And I would not have thought of Haleyy Baylee as someone who was fashion forward and needed to be invited, but that was Anna Wintour's call, and Haleyy Baylee got invited to the Met. Now, I am not jealous. I'm not criticizing Haleyy Baylee because I'm jealous that she got invited to the Met Gala. I think her costume was incredible. I think her outfit went well with the Garden of Time theming. But it was a TikTok that she made at the Met Gala that made a lot of people very upset.
Let them eat cake.
In the TikTok, she uses a very famous line from my favorite movie, Sofia Coppola's Marie Antoinette from 2004. Now, I love Sofia Coppola's movie because the line is told in the movie in a way that Marie Antoinette did not actually say that. Anyway, so Haleyy Baylee takes this line from the 2004 Sofia Coppola movie, and she makes a TikTok with it and posts that TikTok, and it goes viral for all the wrong reasons. First, the Met Gala is kind of juxtaposed against the war crimes that are happening in Palestine. And a lot of people had issues with celebrities seeming to tout their own wealth while people were starving and at risk of losing their lives in a war. And while I don't think that conflict in the world means that we should stop enjoyment of everyday pleasure, I do think that you should be conscious as a celebrity that the lifestyle you promote and share will be compared to people who are suffering, and especially when our public figures who are supposed to be doing something about it seem to not be doing anything to stop and rather are seeming to help prolong the war. And I'm talking about politicians, not celebrities, because politicians are the ones with the real power. And instead of fussing at politicians, I think a lot of time internet ire goes towards celebrities instead. But anyway, that's my little rant about that. My soapbox. I understand the desire to fuss at celebrities for public policy problems, especially when those public policy problems are costing people their lives. And we should all be doing what we can to encourage our public representatives, our politicians, to move towards a more peaceful world and to stop war crimes from happening. Anyway, Haleyy Baylee didn't seem to be doing that. She seemed to have no prior activism when it came to Palestine. So when it came to the Met Gala, her audience did not appreciate her using a Marie Antoinette quote, or a quote that's been attributed to decadence and the lack of care from pre-revolutionary France to her current enjoyment and pleasure of life. A lot of people saw that as out of touch and cruel. And Haleyy Baylee's response didn't help.
Sound choice truly had no deeper meaning. I never would have chosen a sound on purpose to highlight wealth disparity or elitism. I never even thought it would be taken in that way because I wasn't elite enough to even be invited to the Met Gala because I'm not elite. I'm a normal person. My dumb self just used an audio that I thought was viral and trending and that people recognized from the Marie Antoinette 2006 movie. Let them eat cake.
Who took the bomb?
I didn't think that much into it, and for that I am so sorry. I did not do my due diligence. I'm so stupid because the things going on in the world today are weighing heavily on everyone's heart.
I guess I would have to correct that. I guess Anna Wintour did not invite Haleyy Baylee based on her apology video. What do you call that? Is that an apology video? I don't know what you would call that video, but that was not an apology video. That was just an explanation of, I didn't do anything wrong, so please stop making me cry video. So that's the first major hiccup in Haleyy Baylee's Brat Girl summer. Let's move forward. I think her audience, the people who were upset, unfollowed her, blocked her. She did seem to kick off the block celebrities movement, and I think a lot of celebrities probably blame her for that. But honestly, I didn't block anybody because I don't follow celebrities, and celebrities rarely ever show up on my For You page. And I think blocking celebrities is a waste of mental time and energy because the effort to block them is more time and energy than I want to put into even thinking about them. I had my problems with the block celebrity movement. It seemed pretty futile, and I would rather spend my time calling my representative and asking him to push for public policy that I think would benefit where I live in Florida and also the world at large, rather than spending time blocking celebrities. But that's just my choice. But I will say the block celebrity movement did seem very connected to the Let Them Eat Cake TikTok, and Haleyy Baylee seemed to be very tied up in that. So, but that movement did not last, as most TikTok trends don't last more than a week or two. I think the last video I saw on the block celebrity movement was in the middle of May, and it's now July, so it's been a while since I saw a video telling me to block celebrities. I would be curious if you blocked celebrities, why you did so, and if they're still blocked. If somebody shows up on my For You page several times and I don't like them, I will block them. That's when I block people. And maybe I should show you my block list because I think it might be entertaining, the people I choose to block that I find annoying. Anyway, Haleyy Baylee seemed to be floating on by the rest of her summer, and I think the rest of her summer could have gone well if she had not been so stupid. There has been a recent trend of sharing relationship stories that you have experienced that were traumatic, and this has been tied back to Risa Tessa's Who the F Did I Marry story, and Risa Tessa's videos were incredible. They were entertaining. Loads and loads of people watched them. It was truly viral, and that happened a bit ago, if I can remember. I don't remember at the moment. I obviously don't have a timeline in front of me, and I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of the internet, forgive me. But Risa Tessa's videos came out, and people were all over that. And then it seemed to, as a trend, I would say it was just her. I did see a few people, regular people, share those kind of stories, but I don't think a lot of influencers were jumping on that trend. And then recently, Brooke Schofield did a Who the F Did I Date storyline. And not only did her video go viral, but it inspired another influencer, Chris Olsen, to share his story of a very traumatizing, abusive, manipulative, and a relationship that he's still in therapy for that happened when he was a teenager. And I think Chris Olsen's video was very honest. It was open. It was very genuine, and it moved a lot of people. I saw people talking about it. People who really dislike Chris Olsen were still saying what a horrible experience he lived through, and anybody would feel bad for him. And this is a sign that young people are at risk of predators, basically. I will be honest, I didn't watch any of these videos. I don't watch a lot of TikTok, but I see the discussions around them. So I knew what all three storylines were I saw the recaps. I like a good recap on TikTok. So I saw all the recaps on these stories. And then Haleyy Baylee's video popped up. And Haleyy Baylee has a series that I have definitely seen on my For You page where she's like, William, my billionaire boyfriend. And it's obviously satire.
Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I didn't know you were over. Gosh, you're just as beautiful as he said.
Like, nobody has ever thought this was real in her life. And the video was satire of that Haleyy Baylee uses to draw people in because it's so outlandish that anyone would have a boyfriend that would behave in that way. But it was a fun series while it lasted. I only saw a couple videos. I remember it's funny at times, but it was also like dumb. It's not real. We all knew it wasn't real, so it wasn't the humor of it. I was just watching because she's a pretty person and it's easy to watch pretty people on the internet. Haleyy Baylee seemed to see the success of Brooke Schofield's and Chris Olsen's videos, and they seem to have inspired her, specifically Chris Olsen, because not less than a day, I'm going to say maybe less than a day after Chris Olsen's videos went viral, Haleyy Baylee came out with Who the F Was I Dating series. These videos were borderline satire. I think you would really have had to watch the Billionaire Boyfriend series to understand that the Who the F Was I Dating series was also satire, because everyone knew William, her billionaire boyfriend, was a joke. So for then her to take a joke and turn that into Who the F Was I Dating series, you would have had to have been in on the joke to know that the new series was also satire. A lot of people don't seem to have been in on it because the comments were offering a lot of empathy at first and seemed to engage with being there for her emotionally for dating someone who seemed to be a jerk to her and not realizing at first that this was a satire series. And then it spread. People were commenting, this doesn't line up. You weren't dating anyone who was, you could have been dating someone who was a jerk to you, but it wasn't your billionaire boyfriend. And people were calling Haleyy Baylee out and accusing her of lying. I don't think Haleyy Baylee intended to be lying. I think it was intended as satire, and she just wasn't as satirical as she normally is because Brooke Schofield's, Risa Tessa's, and Chris Olsen's videos were all done in emotional vulnerability and good faith. So she took the same thematic use of storytelling and used it instead of a satirical storytelling. And it worked for her because her videos were going viral. I don't follow Haleyy Baylee, so I haven't checked her TikTok page. I haven't seen if she's responded. If she has, I'll include that here. But I thought Chris Olsen's response to this was on point and really went to the heart of the matter.
I'm not above making up a little story on the internet for fun. Like me saying Meghan Trainor and I were childhood friends when we're not, getting the audience and all of us having a little laugh together. Where satire and making up stories is not appropriate is stories about abuse. This isn't a trend to jump on because you see it's getting other people views. I wouldn't even say this is a trend to jump on at all. I was inspired by the women before me who were bravely sharing their stories and knew that it helped me feel less alone, so I figured if I share my story, I would feel less alone. But regardless of the views and whatever I'm getting from it, I'm still living with the trauma of that story. I'm still living with the fact that I'm now kind of scared that he's going to reach out to me. I'm still living with the fact that in so many of my relationships, I operate under the guise of always thinking I'm in the wrong or always thinking this person is going to flip a switch and turn on me out of nowhere because that's what this guy did when I was 15 or 16. I'm still living in fear, and views aren't going to take that away. And so I just think if you're getting on this trend and making something up, it is a bit disrespectful to the people who have actually been through something. And again, I know satire is something that we play with on this app a lot, but I would just urge any creator, before they think about making up a story time for this, to think about how you're actually affecting people and the people who have actually been through something like this.
I think the reason a lot of influencers like Haleyy Baylee make mistakes like this and abuse the use of their audience for views is because they don't have empathy. I think there's a certain point where you make enough money that it doesn't matter how other people feel because you will continue to make money. I think this reminds me of Kim Kardashian's "nobody wants to work anymore" comment. Kim can think whatever she wants to about the public, and she can treat the public as poorly as she wants to because she can afford to not have empathy. People know that the Kardashians are using them for views, and I think the backlash to their obvious lack of empathy came through because of that. And I think that backlash has affected Kylie Jenner and Kylie Cosmetics. It has affected the Kardashian brand at large. And I think that same kind of backlash is impacting Haleyy Baylee. I think Haleyy Baylee relies on her audience to connect with her emotionally. And when she is unable to provide empathy and understanding and to read the room, to say, when it comes to a TikTok quote unquote trend that is not really a trend, but people being vulnerable on the internet, I think when it's clear that an influencer is only on the internet to make money, then the audience reacts to that. And I think that has happened to Haleyy Baylee twice this summer. And instead of internal reflection and internal growth, they've just dug themselves deeper into not only a cancellation spiral, but also the disdain of the internet. Other influencers now view them as toxic. Other influencers view them as someone who only wants views and not someone to be trusted. And I think that is really, in the long run, hard to exist on the internet and be viewed in that way. I think in the long run, your peace of mind is impacted by your audience viewing you as a person who's just there for money. And yeah, Haleyy Baylee may keep making money, but that doesn't mean she'll ever retain or regain an audience's trust or even the respect of her peers because of how she used someone else's genuine trauma to create a viral moment for herself. And instead of talking about Chris Olsen or Brooke Schofield or Risa Tessa's stories, we're now talking about an influencer turning their pain into a satirical series. And that's not healthy, that's not good, and I'm sure that's harmful to those influencers, as in knowing that someone wasn't even able to watch their story without thinking of how can I use this for my own personal gain. That's got to be horrible. If you've lost your sense of empathy because you've made so much money, how do you gain it back? That's a good question. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think an important way to retain your sense of empathy in moments when you are no longer in the same shoes as your friends and the vast majority of people is by altruism. Sure, maybe you're doing it for selfish reasons at first, but I think going out and finding ways to volunteer in your community, to give back, and to and to break outside of your own bubble of privilege. Sure, maybe you're doing it just so you don't come across as out of touch, but eventually, hopefully, by doing that, you will understand the pain other people are living with. And I think of Bobby Kennedy, who's my favorite Kennedy. I actually have a picture of him in my office at work. People are like, you have a Kennedy on your wall. I'm like, yes, I love Bobby Kennedy. Bobby Kennedy was raised in ultra privilege, extreme wealth. His brother was the president. He didn't need to care about anyone because he was always going to be politically successful. But people tell the story of Bobby Kennedy traveling through Mississippi and seeing the slums that Black Americans were living in because of government racism and policies towards them, and him breaking down in tears as he realized the extent of the need for the Civil Rights Act. And I think that speaks volumes to what a person can be even in extreme wealth, and that Bobby Kennedy understood that he might be a white privileged man from Boston, but other people's pain should impact him and move him. And he was able to connect with people who were far outside of his life bubble. He was able to put himself in their shoes in a time of need. When Martin Luther King was assassinated, there were riots that erupted across the United States, and Bobby Kennedy was in, I forget the town he was in, but he was in a city, and the African American community was obviously deeply hurt due to the assassination. And the mayor asked Bobby Kennedy, hey, can you reach out to them? Because I'm afraid of a riot, as many cities are experiencing riots over the death of Martin Luther King Jr. And Bobby Kennedy not only reached out to the African American community, he was able to offer them compassion, grace, and more than just words of comfort, but action. That was one of the only major cities in the United States that did not experience a riot in the aftermath of Martin Luther King's death.
Could you lower those signs, please? I have some very sad news for all of you, and that is that Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis. For those of you who are black and are tempted to be filled with hatred and mistrust of the injustice of such an act against all white people, I would only say that I can also feel in my own heart the same kind of feeling. I had a member of my family killed, but he was killed by a white man. But we have to make an effort in the United States. We have to make an effort to understand, to get beyond or go beyond these rather difficult times.
I just think that's a powerful story. And I remember reading that in high school and thinking to myself, no matter what position of power you're in, if you are not able to connect with people because of your privilege, then your power is useless. Like, if you are not able to use your influence and your wealth in order to reach across to someone who's not in your position of influence and wealth, in order to lift them up and help them feel seen and heard, then your influence and power are useless in the long run. And in the chronicles of history, would you rather be remembered as a Bobby Kennedy or a Marie Antoinette? And I would say to a Haleyy Baylee, which would you rather be? And I hope influencers across all platforms and across not just social media influencers, but our politicians, our leaders, I would also hope that you would rather be remembered as someone who could speak and bring comfort in a time of crisis than be seen as someone who is out of touch and uncaring. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about that because I think we've seen a death of empathy in our culture. We've seen a lot of lack of empathy among our politicians. We've seen a lot of a lack of empathy in our day-to-day lives, whether it's our interactions with neighbors and colleagues and friends. Let's bring empathy back. That's my message today. Let's bring empathy. Let's bring empathy back. Anyway, thanks for watching. You can find me all across the internet here on my channel, and also subscribe to my newsletter where I overshare some more about fun life moments, thoughts of the week, and what I've been reading, because I love to read and share. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope to see you next time, and I'll see you later. See ya.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.